Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Hey, it is Tuesday, November 5. Great to see you today, and thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show. Lots to talk about this Tuesday morning here as we come to you live on Free Speech TV and, of course, on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. It's a big day across the country at the polls. First of all, a big governor's race in Virginia. Terry McAuliffe, Democrat, versus Ken Cuccinelli, Republican. Terry McAuliffe expected to win that race and bring along with him a Democratic lieutenant governor and a Democratic attorney general. Big governor's race in New Jersey as well. Incumbent Christie, a Republican, up against Democrat Barbara Buono. She's a great candidate, but Christie looks like he's got the edge. A mayor's race in New York City. Bill de Blasio, our favorite, versus Republican John Lota. Also, mayor's races out in Seattle and in Detroit. And a special congressional election down in Alabama with a Tea Partier trying to knock off, well, it's a Tea Partier versus an establishment Republican. The business community putting a lot of money into the establishment Republican to try to stop the surge of the Tea Party. Meanwhile, at the national level, the Senate passed historic legislation yesterday to ban discrimination against gays and lesbians in the workplace. And yet John Boehner says that legislation is dead on arrival in the House. Why is the Republicans in the House still so homophobic? And meanwhile, the Democratic boomlet for Hillary Clinton continues to gain steam. People are saying she has to be the inevitable candidate in 2016. Haven't we seen this movie before? Didn't they say that in 2008? Join the program. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's election day. It's election day in Virginia and New Jersey, in Seattle, in Detroit, and in New York City, and a few other places in between. Hey, folks, it's early. Get out there and vote. Early and often. What do you say? Good morning, good morning. It is the Bill Press Show. So good to see you today, wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours. We're glad you joined us here on the Bill Press Show and your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on TawkrTV. This radio show also seen on a couple of video outlets, so you can listen, you can watch. Most importantly, you can join in the conversation. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital. We're bringing you the news of the day from Washington, D.C., both this end of Pennsylvania Avenue, where we are on Capitol Hill, the United States Congress, and the other end down at the White House. And we'll tell you what's going on here, around the country, and around the globe. And take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Take your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. What do you say? I couldn't do it without the team here. Peter Ogburn.
Hi there.
I don't know. I might be able to run the board.
I was going to say, I mean,
You know,
let's be honest here. I mean, you could probably do this.
I can drive a car.
Same thing.
So what the hell, right?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, right.
Basically.
It's a power steering. Yes, she's not there right now, but somewhere there, right?
Alicia Cruz is here. Yes, she's always here.
Empty
yes,
chair.
indeed.
She's got the phones covered. And Cyprian Bolding's got our video cam going here. So
he's definitely here. Oh, yeah. Cyprian's putting his scarf on too now, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, indeed. So everybody's neck is thoroughly warmed
today, and I'll let you get very jealous about the scarf. And
you look nice.
I'll tell you a little bit about it later.
Okay. All right.
Because my wife Carol is a weaver, and she does weave these scarves, and so I gave her a hard time the other day because, the New York Marathon, I saw a picture of a guy in the New York Marathon and a woman running, the two of them, in the New York Marathon, who were running while knitting scarves.
Get out.
And one of them it's a 12-foot long scarf he was knitting. Of course, it's a wonder he wasn't tripping over it. Other people were tripping over it. But I pointed out to Carol that she sits at her loom on the bench.
Oh, come on.
Weaving scarves, and these guys are running a marathon.
Yeah, Carol.
Yeah, all right.
Get to work.
Get out there. Well, on the healthcare front, President Obama speaking last night to OFA, or Organizing for America. We heard him say so many times, and we have played that clip so many times of the president saying, look, with the Affordable Care Act, here's the deal. If you have health care already, you can keep it. Period. You can keep it. You got it, you can keep it.
You like your plan?
Period. You got it, you like it, you can keep it. Period. How many times have you heard? Last night, but then we know we got some problems now with the Affordable Care Act because there are some plans out there that are so bad that insurance companies can't sell them anymore, so they have to drop them. And that means people have to get a new one, which has led the president to change his promise, his declaration, slightly. Here he goes.
Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it.
You can keep it.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
That's a new little twist there. I don't remember hearing that before.
Yeah. If it hasn't changed, you can keep it. Actually, what he should have said is, if it meets the standards of the ACA.
If it's not a terrible plan.
Or if it's not a terrible plan. Because technically, I don't want to get picky here, but if it hasn't changed, and some of those plans, if they haven't changed, then they don't meet the test, right?
Yeah.
They have to change to meet the test. That's why they're getting dropped. So just saying, the president's recognizing the reality there. All right, hey, coming up, Big lineup today. Oh, my gosh. Arthur, it's Tuesday. Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post starts us off with the economic news of the day. Igor Volsky from Think Progress will be here with a lot of big stories today, including the Senate passage of ENDA, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, yesterday. We'll also have reporters in from Politico, from Now This News, and the head of Rock the Vote about young people getting involved in particularly the governor's races this year. All of that, plus Hillary. So we just decide, can we just decide right now she's going to be the nominee in 2016 so nobody else even think about it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. A couple of other stories making news out there. We'll start at the sports desk where the Green Bay Packers lost to the Chicago Bears last night, 27-20. It was a troubling.
Possible.
Yeah, well, here's what happened. In the first quarter, Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers took a seat. He hurt his shoulder in the opening quarter, and the Bears capitalized, sent the Packers to a 5-3 record. They improved to 5-3. The final score was 27-20.
So the Bears only won by knocking their best guy off the team?
Basically.
Off the field?
Basically. Yeah. That's the idea. You stay classy, moviegoers. A new idea is being tested for the upcoming Anchorman sequel, set to open to the general public around Christmas. But if you're itching to see the movie, the studio will be offering an opportunity to buy something they are calling a super ticket. It allows people who pay a premium to get in to see the movie a couple of days before the actual release date. Call this the FOMO syndrome, fear of missing out. Huh. They did a similar promotion for the Brad Pitt flick World War Z. They charged theatergoers $50 per ticket, and they got in 2 days early to see it. They haven't said how much it's going to cost, but you can imagine it's going to be somewhere around there.
But you know what? I think that's really silly, because if you wait long, I mean, you can get into a movie.
It's a matter of waiting 48 hours, realistically.
Maybe, here. Yeah, 40, right, exactly.
I mean, this will get you in 2 days
early. You can Fandango and get a seat, most theaters.
Sure, it's not that hard to see a movie.
No, really. Plus, if you wait a week on almost any movie, you wait a week, you can get in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And as if flying wasn't scary enough for some people, Chicago's O'Hare Airport played host to an unusual traveler. Yesterday, they found a very weird traveler under the escalator in the airport. It was a live alligator. Police were alerted to the small 18-inch long beast by someone who thought it was a toy. It's an alligator loose in the airport. I don't care how small it is. That'll freak me out. A traveler saw it, thought it was a toy, told the authorities. They showed up. They essentially used a broom and a dustpan to sweep it up. Police are putting the pieces together. It looks like someone realized you couldn't take a live animal through security, so they just sort of ditched the alligator in an alleyway there. They have the reptile. It's being fed because it was malnourished, and it's going to live in a reptile park.
Very nice.
Yeah,
okay.
So there you go.
That's like these people who let the pythons go in the Everglades.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Except I wouldn't let a python go in an airport.
I wouldn't let an alligator go in an airport either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take an alligator to the airport to begin with.
I'd love to see that thought process.
All right. Hey, we made a we're going to violate our pledge here. You ready? Okay. Watch this. This is history-making news. You know that promise that we made that we were not going to talk about 2016 at all on this show until 2015. There it is. All right. We're just ripping it up.
Promise made, promise broken.
Like most promises in Washington. But the reason is because I'm getting really, number one, worried, and number two, pissed off by all the talk about Hillary 2016, Hillary 2016, Hillary 2016. It is everywhere. And it got a big boost this weekend when Chuck Schumer, senior senator from New York, Democrat, goes out to Iowa. And why? Why the hell, right, with all the things to talk about health care, talk about immigration reform, what does he use to charge up the crowd?
2016 is Hillary's time. Run, Hillary, run. If you run, you'll win, and we'll all win.
We just had an election last year. This is 2013. Come on, Chucky, what are you doing? But, he's not alone. That's the thing. I mean, there is this huge movement. I run into it everywhere. boosting Hillary right now, trying to lock it up for her and clear everybody else out of the way and say, there's no question about it. She must be the nominee in 2016. There is a super PAC called Ready for Hillary with two good friends of mine and very, two of the smartest political people in this country, Craig Smith, former political director for Bill Clinton in the White House, and Harold Ickes, former deputy chief of staff for Bill Clinton in the White House. They're working with this PAC, Ready for Hillary. Priorities USA, which was a super PAC in 2012, is out there saying they're going to support. They're poised. They're ready. They're going to just become the Hillary PAC as soon as she announces she's going to run, and they're already trying to line up people for that PAC. And there are a lot of others out there, and what they're doing, they're making the case, right? Oh, look, clearly she's the most qualified of all the Democrats. Clearly she's got the most experience of all the Democrats. Clearly she's got the best record of all the Democrats. First Lady of Arkansas, First Lady of the United States, Senator from New York, Democratic presidential candidate, Secretary of State, done a great job in all those areas. So she's got to be our person in 2016. And also, by the way, it's about time that the United States elected a woman as a president. I couldn't agree more. And she's the strongest one, the logical choice. So let's all get behind her now, clear the field. Nobody else runs against her. And we decide right now that she's going to be our nominee in 2016. And you know what I say to all of that? Really? Really? We really want to go here again? And I'm not saying don't go there, but I'm saying don't go there yet. And let me be clear. I'm making this as a big Hillary supporter and a big Clinton supporter. I'm a Clintonite. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, love them. Support them for everything. I used to call myself, when I was Democratic State Chair of California, I used to call myself the president of the Hillary Clinton fan club, right? I supported her. I got a lot of crap, a lot of heat from a lot of you, because in 2008, you probably remember, I supported her over Barack Obama in the primary because I felt she was the most qualified. But I guess that's the point. I'm asking, and you tell me, do we really want to start this again? This is exactly what we did in 2008, remember? How dare Barack Obama run? What an interloper. How dare anybody challenge Hillary? Because she was the most qualified, the most experienced, had the best record, would be the first woman president. All those arguments again. Here's my response to this. Number one, it's damn too early, way too early to be talking about 2016 again. People ought to be putting their political energy right now into getting comprehensive immigration reform or getting ENDA passed in the Senate or getting climate change legislation. You know, we got time for 2016. Number one, it's way too early. And number two, it's just the Democratic Party really wants to say, we don't have any better ideas. We don't have any new people. We don't have any new blood. We got to go back to the Clinton era in 2016 and bring that back again. I mean, I really think as Democrats, we ought to just chill, slow down this Hillary steamroller. 866-55-PRESS. I'm not ready to get on this bandwagon yet. How about you?
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, 24 minutes after the hour now here. We're talking Hillary 2016. My feeling is it's way too early. Way too early to be talking about that, and way too dangerous for Democrats to say, let's just have a coronation right now. You know, we tried that in 2008. How'd that work out? And by the way, there are some other pretty promising candidates out there of a new generation of Democrats. Martin O'Malley comes to mind from governor of Maryland. How about Cory Booker, the new senator from New Jersey? How about Sherrod Brown from Ohio? You could go down the list. Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin. How about that? A woman and a lesbian. First woman lesbian. I mean, down the list, there are some outstanding potential presidential candidates out there. I think it's very narrow-minded for Democrats to say right now in 2013, it's going to be and it's got to be Hillary, so stop talking about anything else. Hell no. Jerry's calling from Oak Park, Illinois. Hey, Jerry, what do you say?
Hey, Bill. Good morning.
Good morning.
What I'm thinking is, and speaking as somebody who likes Hillary, but I'm wondering, do we wind up looking like the party of retreads You know, that sounds like an awful word.
I know.
In 2016.
No, I'm worried about that too. I am too. Yeah.
Because, you know, is it Hillary again? Let's say we have a primary. I don't people I like. Joe Biden again. Who knows? Crist again. Who knows? Dennis Kucinich again. Now, and I'm not endorsing any of the Republicans I'm about to mention, so don't freak out. Okay, but hear me out. If their primary looks like some of the people we already know, Chris Christie, Paul Ryan, I know Scott Walker's going at it, Rand Paul, and then Susanna Martinez, Brian Sandoval, Nikki Haley, Bobby Jindal, who suddenly got the diversity?
Mm-hmm. Good point. No, well, of course we have the diversity in terms of we have a woman candidate with Hillary, but I think your point is well taken. There are some other people out there. It is much too early. And by the way, and I say that I would say the same thing about Joe Biden. I have to add, I mean, I love Joe Biden, but you know, it's another generation, and he's been around a long time. I think we have to look at our bench, and we got some strong people on that bench. By the way, one final point there on Hillary. Remember, if this book Double Down is correct, and some people in the Obama campaign considered replacing Joe Biden with Hillary in 2008, they decided not to. Why? Because they took a poll, and Hillary did not give them a bump. Wouldn't have helped Obama at all had she been on the ticket instead of Joe Biden. What does that say about this inevitability of Hillary? Tim is calling from down in Jackson, Mississippi. Hey, Tim.
Yeah. I think Lindsey Graham's got this Benghazi bug, and he's not going to let it go. And I just think Hillary's just, she's, like he said, a retread. Because we do have Martin O'Malley and Tammy Baldwin and the Castro brothers. You know, there's a lot of Hispanic.
Right, forgot the Castro brothers, right? They're a very attractive team. I don't know which one it would be, the mayor or the member of Congress. But I also think, it'd be important for Democrats to look outside of Washington to some of our governors and some of our mayors in terms of somebody who might have a broader appeal. All I'm saying is, number one, we got lots of time. Number two, we have lots of candidates. And I think getting us into a Hillary inevitable this early for Democrats is a big mistake. We'll talk about it more in the next couple of weeks. Arthur Delaney's next.
Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, it's 33 minutes after the hour. What do you say? Tuesday, November 5. And you know the way it is around here. We're pretty regular because on Tuesdays at this hour, you can always tune in to find one of our favorites, Huffington Post reporter Arthur Delaney in studio with us. And sure enough, Arthur, good morning.
Good morning.
You remembered. We didn't even have to give you a wake-up call, you know. We didn't have to remind you. You just, there you are.
That would really be something if I just didn't show up at all.
We could fill the time. I don't know what we'd do. We'd play a replay from...
Cat videos.
From last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or cat videos.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Up Post Hill. Good to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us. And those of you who happen to be watching on Free Speech TV or on TawkrTV can see that Arthur and I are decked out this morning in, look at this, beautiful scarves. These happen to be...
Oh, Bill, who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing? Right. I'm wearing
Lane Bryant today.
Are you? Yeah. Peter, I'm sorry I didn't bring one in for you.
That's all right.
Anyhow, we are wearing Carol Press scarves today. If you go to our website, BillPressShow.com, you will find out who really has talent in the family. It is not me. It's my wife, Carol, who weaves these beautiful hand-woven scarves. This is rayon chenille. So is yours, rayon chenille. I like that one. It's very pretty.
Would you say the scarves loom large?
They loom large in my life. Yes, indeed. Thank you. And she also makes...
What a pitch man, Arthur.
He is. He's perfect. She also makes scarves out of bamboo. And you know what? This is the season. That's why I'm wearing. This is the season. First of all, it's getting a little cold. And we're also getting up to the holidays. Hanukkah, Christmas. Think about a Carol Press scarf. Go to the website, BillPressShow.com, and at the very top it says Carol Press scarves. There you go. It's easier to navigate than the Affordable Care Act website.
That is true.
We promise you that. We've been talking, Arthur, before you got here, and I want to talk to Scott here quickly before we move on to the issues that you came to talk about. We've been talking about this surge among Democrats to crown Hillary Clinton, like right today.
Yeah.
As the Democratic nominee for 2016.
Chuck Schumer.
And as a big Hillary supporter, I've been saying, slow down, calm down. It's way too early to talk 2016, number one. And number two, there are a lot of other qualified people out there. And we heard all of this in 2008. And then Barack Obama says, I don't buy that stuff, and look at where he is, right? So, Scott from Chicago. What do you say, Scott?
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good.
I wanted to set the record straight real quickly before we get into this.
All right.
The Packers were not the only ones playing without their starting quarterback. And
Oh.
our backup did a heck of a job.
Yeah, I know, but let's also say the Packers starting quarterback is a whole lot better than Jay Cutler. I'd say that's a bigger impact to them.
Point well taken. and of course, Clay Matthews wasn't playing either.
Yeah.
But my point was that I would like to see Elizabeth Warren step forward because she would bring back a lot of the traditions of FDR, and we really need to get this country back into more of the traditions of FDR.
But Scott, a first-term senator, who would have the audacity to run for president from that position?
The audacity of hope to run for president.
That's right. Okay, good point. Scott, you know what? That's an excellent point. And to the argument that it's time for a woman, yes, indeed, it is. But that doesn't necessarily mean Hillary. There's Elizabeth Warren. There's Amy Klobuchar. I mentioned Tammy Baldwin before. Who am I forgetting?
There are all sorts of women out there.
I mean,
binders of them.
Super qualified Democratic women. Thanks, Scott. Good to hear from you. Glad you cleared up that sports department thing, Peter. For the Packers and the Bears.
Thank
right,
you very
indeed.
much, Scott.
All right, so Arthur, since we saw you last, you warned us it was coming last Friday. The big cut of $5 billion in the food stamp program. So what? Has anything happened?
The cut took effect as expected. Now, it didn't get a ton of play in national media.
No.
It wasn't on the front page of your big newspaper.
I've said it before. The only show that I've seen talk about food stamps at all or heard is this one. Thanks to you.
I have always had a Google alert. So anytime a blog or news website somewhere in the world mentions food stamps, I get an email. And for the past week, even though there has been no major national attention paid to this, my Google alert for food stamps has just been blowing up because all across the country, local TV stations and newspapers have been diligently covering this. I counted up 100 stories in just 4 days of last week, and the stories are often very similar. They have the local food bank saying, oh no, this is going to be a problem for us. And they have people on food stamps saying, I'm out of this benefit by the end of the month, every month. If you're taking $10, $20, $30 from me, that's just going to give me that much less food. So it's something that is actually reverberating across the country, even though it is being relatively ignored here in Washington.
At the national level.
At the national level.
So I'm glad to hear that the local media is
it's pretty
covering.
impressive. Yeah.
And so these are real cuts that are hurting real people and causing real pain. Right?
It's a $5 billion cut for this 1 year. That's actually 25% bigger cut than even Republicans have proposed in their most extreme legislation.
And it happened because there was this extra money put in as part of the stimulus, which ran out.
Right. So we're reverting to where benefits would have been had that boost never been.
What's it mean for an average family or person on food stamps?
A family of four getting the maximum benefit, which is hundreds of dollars, will have $36 less each month. And that's basically a whole basket of groceries.
I was just because $36 is several meals, right?
Yeah.
That they just have to cut back or put more water in the soup or I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Or, rely on family and friends and neighbors a little bit more. Have a little bit less freedom to take care of themselves.
On another front, looking at the economic impact on some families, what have you found out about people who on health? Talking about healthcare, right?
Yeah.
People who, as the president's been talking about, people who have a healthcare plan and yet are going to lose their healthcare plan under the Affordable Care Act. In fact, let me play the president. He said while selling Obamacare, right? If you got a plan and you like it, you can keep it.
He said that? That's preposterous.
He said it over and over and over, as we know. Last night, speaking to the Organizing for America, he changed it just a little bit to reflect reality. Here's the president.
Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
That's a little bit that he added there, right?
If Obama likes his talking point, he can keep it.
Yeah, right. Or he can change it.
Or he can keep it but change it slightly.
Yeah, exactly. What's the reality here? Are people people who have never had health care before, right, are going to be able to buy it under the Affordable
Well, the
Care Act?
reality is far fewer people are affected by this than almost anything else. The food stamp cut, for instance, 50 million people. This, several million people. So far fewer are being affected by this, and far more will be able to get health insurance, at least theoretically, according to the law. But I can't imagine something more aggravating as someone who has been on the private health insurance market than having been told over and over this law would be good for me, and at the very least it wouldn't bother me, and then to get your insurance canceled.
Yeah.
What's more aggravating than mail from your insurance company? That isn't good news. So it's for real. People are facing serious disruption. Now, the debate is, well, you're only having it disrupted if it changed, like he was just saying.
Or if it's no good. I mean, because as the New York Times pointed out in an editorial yesterday, some of these plans had deductibles as high as $10,000 or $25,000, didn't cover hospital care. So they were plans that people may have liked them, but they didn't meet the test of the Affordable Care Act.
That's true. You still could have kept some of those according to the law if they hadn't changed in some way after 2010. For instance, they didn't jack your premium by more than a certain amount. So yeah, the reality is these laws were bad, but if you didn't have an ongoing health problem or suffer a catastrophic injury or illness in that time, you have no idea that your insurance policy is bad. And to just hear it from bureaucrats and politicians is not very soothing at all. So I would have a lot of sympathy for people who are having their lives disrupted by the law. Even if they do wind up in something better that's more expensive, you're not going to know it if you hadn't already been using it. So it's a terrible political miscalculation by the president. Bad broken policy promise too.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I think people come out ahead. Plus, but I'm not disagreeing with you. Just in the end, I think people will come out ahead. And in addition, they have the benefit today of the availability of a subsidy, federal subsidy, which they did not have before. So if they have to get into a new plan, chances are they could qualify for a federal subsidy, and that which is really going to reduce the cost of the new plan.
But even if you drill down into the individual cases being reported and picked over by different websites and journalists, even if you wind up in a better plan, and then you do have an injury or illness, and the plan works pretty well, and you're taken care of, you didn't know you weren't in a good plan before. Even the people who are complaining about having their plans disrupted, you have to have it broken down for you why you weren't supposed to have liked your previous plan.
I know, but let me tell you something. You know what? That's what insurance is all about. I've been paying fire coverage, right, for my house.
Yeah.
For dozens of years, right? Never had a fire at a house.
You haven't burned down your house?
Thank God, right?
Come close.
But, I'm smart enough to know I still need that insurance.
Yeah.
Even if I hadn't had a fire. You still need health insurance, even if you haven't had a catastrophic illness. I mean, that's what insurance is all about.
You just got to guffaw at the notion that people ever loved their insurance, though.
Nobody.
Come on.
Yeah, it's the thing that people hate the most, I think, right? Indeed. Arthur Delaney with us from Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. And when we come back, a very interesting study that Arthur has done on the various kinds of a-holes in Washington. Whew, there are a lot of them.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay. I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing done, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, 11 minutes before the top of the hour. I know what you're asking. You go to BillPressShow.com and click on, at the very top, right onto the right-hand side, Carol Press Scarves, and that's where you find out how you can get one of these beautiful scarves that Arthur and I are wearing today. Arthur Delaney here from Huffington Post. And Arthur Melvin from South Bend, Indiana, wants to chime in on Obamacare. Hey, Melvin, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir,
What's
and all
up?
of your staff.
Thank you.
I really want to chime in on the fact that first thing that took place was the insurance companies have been exposed on how they have been selling trash or junk insurance.
That's true.
Second
Absolutely.
thing that's of importance is the fact that women with breast cancer or men with prostate cancer can't be refused insurance going forward. And thirdly, you have multiple sclerosis, you have MS. There's a host of benefits
Yes.
as opposed to a shaky start. Look at Kentucky. Look at California. Look at Washington. The Insurance Affordable Care Act has a whole lot more benefits than it do negatives, and I think if we push the benefits out there, it would make much more sense, because I am a survivor of prostate cancer and couldn't get insurance.
Yeah, absolutely, Melvin. Absolutely important point, and important to get that out there. I also think, and I appreciate the call, I think the administration could have done a better job of selling the benefits, because there are much, much more positive things about the Affordable Care Act than this negative stuff with the website.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
If you like your plan talking point was just such an own goal,
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the law's supporters, stories about benefits and new good things happening will always be competing with stories that have conflict and bad things happening.
Yeah.
And those are just considered better stories.
But Bell was right. Millions and millions of more people are going to have health insurance who could never afford it before, right? With better coverage, and people who have health insurance today will still benefit from it because, as Arthur points out, like prostate cancer screenings, mammograms, all that kind of stuff. Preventive care is all covered now, which wasn't before. You don't even have a copay for preventive care.
That is if the website works adequately, which we don't know yet.
We don't know yet, but it will.
It's
Give 'em
supposed
time.
to.
All right, now I was intrigued by the story that you did. The 7 types of a-holes, we say on this program.
Yes.
But everybody knows what we're talking about. In Washington, D.C. How the hell did you come up with writing this story?
Well, it all started thanks to Tom Coburn, Republican senator from Oklahoma.
Yes.
Who had a speech in New York.
Yes.
Was asked about Harry Reid, the Democratic majority leader of the Senate. And Coburn said, there's no comedy with Harry Reid. I think he's an absolute a-hole. So that's the first type of the 7 a-holes in Washington. The absolute a-hole. And it brought to mind some of the famous and also less well-known types of a-holes that have been heralded in the recent past,
Such
including
as?
the Major League a-hole.
Oh, that was Dick Cheney, right?
That was George W. Bush.
Oh, that's right. Two
Dick Cheney. They're on stage at a campaign rally in 2000, and George Bush he spots New York Times reporter Adam Clymer, and he says, there's Adam Clymer, Major League a-hole for the New York Times. And Cheney says, big time.
Big time, right.
That brings us to A-hole Central. And this is, Rick Santorum was formerly a lobbyist for professional wrestling and had been involved in a push in Pennsylvania to deregulate that so that it would be treated as entertainment rather than an actual sport where you'd have to have like state health officials making sure no one died or whatever. And a wrestling writer recalled speaking to him for an article 20 years ago. And he said, it was like A-hole Central.
Rick Santorum, A-hole Central.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was slapping his knees and laughing and reading. Okay.
Move along. Got to move fast here, Arthur.
We'll go to the most egregious a-holes. And this is a senior Republican referring to Tea Party freshmen who had been given less favorable committee assignments. And he called them just the most egregious a-holes.
All right. What are we up to, 4 now?
That was only 4.
All right. We got 3 more to go. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we'll get the last 3 kinds of a-holes in Washington. I love it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Arthur Delaney, bring us up to date on the final three kinds of a-holes in Washington. Arthur, are?
Senator Bob Kerrey referred to Rick Santorum in the late 90s. He said, Rick Santorum, is that Latin for a-hole?
Yeah, that's right.
The Latin a-hole.
Unqualified a-hole.
Unqualified.
Al Franken, describing someone he had met at a party who worked for Fox News who was suing him over his book subtitle.
Oh.
And he said, I suppose I might have called that person an a-hole. Maybe I'm not qualified to be president. Former basketball star and freelance diplomat Dennis Rodman said in September he would not do anything to free an American imprisoned in North Korea. He said, that's not my job. Ask Obama about that. Ask Hillary Clinton. Ask those a-holes. And that's the final category.
Oh, okay. Let me see. If you had time, well, it's a good thing you don't have time because I was going to ask you what category you would put me in, or Peter. But anyhow, you don't have time, so
we'd all be in the same category. I think we might all be in a-hole central already.
Yeah.
I think
Welcome to a-hole
I want to
Central.
be a major league a-hole is what I want to be. Arthur Delaney, thanks for coming in, man. Great to see you.
Thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Hey, it is Tuesday, November 5. Great to see you today, and thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show. Lots to talk about this Tuesday morning here as we come to you live on Free Speech TV and, of course, on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. It's a big day across the country at the polls. First of all, a big governor's race in Virginia. Terry McAuliffe, Democrat, versus Ken Cuccinelli, Republican Terry McAuliffe expected to win that race and bring along with him a Democratic lieutenant governor and a Democratic attorney general. Big governor's race in New Jersey as well. Incumbent Chris Christie, a Republican, up against Democrat Barbara Buono. She's a great candidate, but Christie looks like he's got the edge. A mayor's race in New York City. Bill de Blasio, our favorite, versus Republican John Lota. Also, mayor's races out in Seattle and in Detroit. And a special congressional election down in Alabama with a Tea Partier trying to knock off, it's a Tea Partier versus an establishment Republican. The business community putting a lot of money into the establishment Republican to try to stop the surge of the Tea Party. Meanwhile, at the national level, the Senate passed historic legislation yesterday to ban discrimination against gays and lesbians in the workplace. And yet, John Boehner says that legislation is dead on arrival in the House. Why? Is the Republicans in the House still so homophobic? And meanwhile, the Democratic boomlet for Hillary Clinton continues to gain steam. People are saying she has to be the inevitable candidate in 2016. Haven't we seen this movie before? Didn't they say that in 2008? Join the program. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have Pep Talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Election day in Virginia and New Jersey, as well as mayor's races in New York City, Detroit, and Seattle. Big day, folks. Get out to the polls. Vote early and often, the Chicago way. Good morning. Great to see you today. Happy Tuesday, November 5. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C., you know. Most powerful city on the planet. We'll bring you up to date on all the news of the day. That's our job. Your job? Tell us what you think about it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on email, on Twitter, rather, at BP Show. And your comments also on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. You can send one email, too, to thebillpressshow.com. Great to see you today. And, you know, it's Tuesday. It's got to be Igor Volsky. Yes, indeed. Managing editor of Think Progress from the Center for American Progress, here in studio with us to talk about the big hot stories that they are working on. Igor, good to see you, as always.
Good morning, and looking great in this Carol Press scarf, I have to say.
You look absolutely
Feels
handsome
very nice, too. I just can't stop touching it.
In the Carol Press.
So smooth.
I know, they are. They're
very smooth. Yeah, no, it's very enjoyable.
And we'll tell you more about how you might be able to, I'm wearing one too this morning, and how you might be lucky enough to get yourself a Carol Press scarf a little bit later in the program. After we say hello to our team here, Peter Ogburn. Hey. Alicia Cruz. She's got the phones covered. Gets the big wave when she's in her chair. And she's running down to get Igor and me a chocolate sundae this morning or something for breakfast.
Chocolate sundae is Bill's code word for shots of whiskey in the morning.
And let's not forget Cyprian Bolding on the video cam, because if we don't give him the big wave, the cameras suddenly go dead.
It's true.
There he goes.
Before, he'll leave. There he goes. Yeah, there he goes. He left.
Remember the one time?
He turned the lights out. Cameras didn't work.
Turned the lights out.
Oh, my goodness.
We learned.
In the middle of a broadcast.
Yeah, had a guest sitting where you are, Igor, and just left all of us
I remember
in the
the pictures on Twitter. Yes.
Yeah. So you better be careful.
Bring candles. Always have candles.
So it is, as we mentioned, Election Day, and boy, they were rolling out yesterday in Virginia. Joe Biden was there for Terry McAuliffe after President Obama had been there on Sunday, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the DNC chair, was there, I think, on Saturday. So they're rolling out the big guns for Terry McAuliffe. And the best they could do for Ken Cuccinelli, Republican candidate, was Marco Rubio from Florida, who had, I thought, a very strange message for this governor's race. Here's
This
Marco
is
Rubio.
the first election in America since the full impact of Obamacare has been felt. This is the first chance that people in this country have to speak clearly at the ballot box about the impact that this law is having on their lives and on our economy.
So, Rubio is making the Virginia governor's race a referendum on Obamacare. In fact, Cuccinelli has done that before.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when Terry McAuliffe wins by 7 points, are they going to say, yes, the people of Virginia and the people of America want Obamacare?
I mean, everything is a referendum on Obamacare. 2012 was a referendum on Obamacare, too, apparently.
We already had that.
We just keep on reaffirming it, and they keep on holding referendums.
Yeah. So the American people, by a margin of 5 million in 2012, November, said, we like Obamacare. Now, how crazy of them to make this
I don't
Virginia
understand why they
race.
keep saying that. I mean, they're going to lose. The numbers just aren't there.
Let's lose again, right?
The shutdown, everything is a referendum. And Rubio, by the way, you blinked, you missed him. He was there for, 2 seconds, gave a little plug for Cuccinelli, then literally ran away because, this guy's a sinking ship.
Cuccinelli, who's been supported, they made appearances for him, but Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Marco Rubio.
Oh, yes.
Boy.
Group of winners there.
Boy, talk about a sinking ship. All right, we've got it all covered here today with Igor Volsky for the first half hour. Dylan Byers, media critic for Politico, joins us at the half. And in the next hour, the head of Rock the Vote, Heather Smith, will be here in studio with us. But first, Peter, what do you got?
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a few other stories making news today. Take 2.2 billion of these and call me in the morning. Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $2.2 billion to settle claims that they marketed some of their drugs for unapproved uses. Plus, they offered kickbacks to doctors and nursing homes for using their medicines. The company knew that some of these patients that were using certain drugs were at increased risk for developing diabetes. They did not publicly acknowledge that risk, according to the settlement. Eric Holder came out yesterday and announced this is one of the biggest medical settlements ever in this country. The Johnson & Johnson also promoted a drug in nursing homes by sending paid pharmacists to review patient records, which allowed them to provide more prescriptions to that nursing home.
Boy, this whole thing about drug companies paying doctors to write prescriptions for their drugs, man, I got to tell you, how crooked can you get? And there's a lot of people. Americans are way over-medicated.
No, that's true. Big issue for Chuck Grassley, by the way, is this very kickback system.
Are we alone in the universe? New data suggests that maybe we are not. A group of respected astronomers took NASA data to propose that there is other life in the universe. They suggest that the Milky Way contains billions of planets that are about the size of Earth. They orbit stars just like our sun, and they exist in what scientists call the Goldilocks zone, meaning it's not too hot or too cold for life. The study was published Monday in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Science.
I find this absolutely amazing.
Billions of other planets.
No, 40, right. The astronomers report as many as 40 billion habitable Earth-sized planets.
Wow.
I mean, I always thought there might be like one other spot out there where there could be something approaching like life on Earth. 40 billion of them.
This could explain Sarah Palin.
I'm so glad. I'm never feeling lonely again.
And Jimmy Carter nearly punched out a head of state.
No.
Former President Carter spoke with the Times newspaper earlier this week, and he confessed that he nearly punched out President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. Carter had traveled to South Africa with Bill Gates Sr. to raise awareness for the treatment of AIDS, and Mbeki was staunchly against any kind of treatment for AIDS. Carter confesses, quote, "That's the closest I've ever come to getting in a fist fight with a head of state." Said as he stood there and the South African president refused to acknowledge it, Carter clenched his fists and raged at the man because he would not acknowledge that AIDS was a real problem.
So we knew he had lust in his heart. Now we know he had rage in his heart, too.
Hey, fight for public health. That's fine.
But Carter, the man who dared never act.
Yeah.
Either in love or in hate, right?
Need a YouTube clip of that. Thank goodness. That'd be something.
Sort of sums it up. Big day. I really, this planet Earth thing, I just hope we get to meet some of these people here at some point from these other planets, you know? Igor, big day in the Senate yesterday. The vote on the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. 17 years ago was the last time it was voted on. Bringing it back 17 years later.
Really remarkable.
Big change. Every Democrat voted for it, and what, 7
Republicans.
7 Republicans.
2 Republican co-sponsors, which was a big deal, I think. And you wouldn't think, even 4 years ago that you would have Democrats in red states, Landrieu from Louisiana, Pryor from Arkansas, voting for this measure, and they did. And nobody came to the floor to speak out against it, which I think is also significant.
And I tell you, who did come out to speak for it, which was very moving, Mark Kirk, who had a stroke a couple of years ago, and he has been back in the Senate, but has never spoken on the floor of the Senate until yesterday, and here's why he said he got up yesterday.
I have been silent for the last 2 years due to a stroke a little under 2 years ago. I've risen to speak because I believe so passionately in enacting the ENDA statute.
And he said, as a Republican from Illinois, right, he is following the example of 2 other great Republicans from Illinois.
I think it's particularly appropriate for an Illinois Republican to speak on behalf of this measure in the true tradition of Everett McKinley Dirksen and Abraham Lincoln, men who gave us the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
Historic moment indeed, and good for Harry Reid for pushing this through. Yeah, he's really taking the leadership on this. Now, what was so disappointing yesterday is that John Boehner said, dead on arrival.
Well,
in
he
the
said
House.
dead on arrival, and the reason he gave is
Yeah,
I don't.
why?
Well, he said I don't want frivolous lawsuits. There's going to be all these gay people suing their employer, saying you fired me for this or that reason. The irony is, this is a man who spent millions trying to defend the Defense of Marriage Act before the courts, wasted all that money because it was eventually, of course, struck down. Now he's worried about frivolous lawsuits.
After having filed a frivolous lawsuit, right?
And and the business community is behind this measure. They say, let's protect all of our employees. Let's make sure everyone has equal opportunity. Large corporations already extend these kinds of protections in their employment policies. And most Americans, I mean, the numbers, Bill, are overwhelming. More than 80% of Americans think this is already in law. They think you already can't fire someone because of sexual orientation or gender identity. So this is just codifying it now. So the first vote, opening debate, was yesterday. Right. Now we move to the actual debate, and that's where things could get a little tricky because they had to twist some arms to get people like Kelly Ayotte, the senator from New Hampshire, Portman from Ohio, to support the measure, and they want to expand the religious exemption that's already included in ENDA, which says that if you're a religious organization, you don't have to abide by the rule. Right. And it's already a big compromise because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that we just mentioned, that extends protections to minorities, African Americans, women, has a much narrower religious exemption. This broadens it out, and they want to kind of pull it apart even more, either by redefining what constitutes a religious organization so that it's not just the church or a college, it's kind of any business that claims some kind of religious flavor to it. Or the second thing they could do is they could say businesses, any businesses at all, could circumvent these laws if it's against their religious beliefs. So even the business doesn't have to have any religious grounding. The owner has to have some kind of conscientious objection.
Right. But correct me if I'm wrong. On the floor, having surpassed the filibuster and gotten it on the floor, when they have a vote on the floor, they still only need 51 votes, correct?
No, to close debate, they need 60, and then to move to the final
close.
vote, they're going to need over 50.
Over 50, right. But back to Boehner's point. Part of the reason, as I understand it, that most people think this is already the law is because in most states and cities, it is already the law.
In 21 states, I believe, it is the law for sexual orientation, gender identity, far less. And those are, transgender people are the most discriminated against. I mean, you look at the surveys, Bill, and it's like 90% of transgender people have felt discrimination at work, have been fired because of their gender identity. So it's really something, but it's certainly growing across the country, but it's not there yet.
And the other thing is, it seems to me that the Republican opposition in the House, I mean, with Boehner and knowing his Tea Party caucus, right? I mean, he does say, well, this is going to make it easy for trial lawyers and be too many frivolous lawsuits. But it basically comes down to they still want to discriminate against gays and lesbians, right? I mean, LGBT people across the board. I mean,
what it comes down to.
I mean, they're basically standing up and saying it's okay in the United States of America in 2013 to discriminate against a certain group of Americans only because they happen to be LGBT.
And there might be frivolous lawsuits from African Americans who use the civil rights statute to say you can't fire me because of my race, or from women. I mean, there could be some frivolous lawsuits with any regulation.
Well, the Washington Post reports this morning that, in fact, when you look at all these states and cities where this similar prohibition against discrimination is already the law, there have been like zero cases of frivolous lawsuits. Minimal cases filed. So this fear that they're putting out there is just, absolutely sorry excuse. Talking to the issues of the day, ENDA, a big victory for all Americans, not just for members of the LGBT community. Yesterday in the Senate, now we go to full debate on the floor. We'll talk about some of the other issues of the day when we come back with Igor Volsky, managing editor of Think Progress, thinkprogress.org.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, 25 minutes after the hour here on Tuesday, November 5. In studio with us, Igor Volsky from Think Progress, thinkprogress.org, covering the big stories of the day. And both of us decked out as those of you watching. Of course, we are coming to you first of all, foremost, on your local progressive talk radio station as a radio show. That's where we belong and proud to be. You can also catch us, though, the video on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. And for those of you watching the video feed or on Free Speech TV, you'll see that both Igor Volsky and I are decked out in beautiful, colorful scarves this morning. Happen to be rayon chenille, hand-woven scarves by Carol Press. And if you, this is the season, Hanukkah coming up.
Oh, yes.
Christmas coming up. They make great gifts, but they're also just great for you to wear and stay warm. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com, and click on Carol Press scarves. There's a whole assortment there of different scarves, colors, and patterns that she's got available at this season. And just go shop to your heart's content.
Yeah, please do.
Talk about shopping. A lot of people are going still to the Affordable Care website, having some problems. But you've reported that they're persistent, right? They know what they want and they keep coming back.
That's a very good transition, Bill.
I
feel though that it's probably easier at this point to get to Carol Press scarves than it is to healthcare.gov. It's easier.
Yes.
And there's no phone number. You don't have to call. Just go online.
BillPressShow.com. The Carol Press scarves click is easier than the Affordable Care Act.
Yes, some lessons to teach us with healthcare.gov. They're working at it. They're holding these calls every day saying it's getting better, it's getting easier. People are creating accounts. They're getting through. Of course, the big problem, we've always talked about this, is you have to get young and healthy people into the risk pool. And this morning, there's a story in the Wall Street Journal that says that the average age of new enrollees, the people who are coming through, is about 50. And for insurers, it needs to be around 40.
Yeah.
Because when they set their rates for the year, that's the calculation they make. So it's based on that kind of median age pool.
That's interesting.
If it doesn't get any younger, then next year, the rates are going to go up. They're locked in for this year, but they're going to go up next year. But past experience in Massachusetts, elsewhere, has shown that young and healthy people who don't need coverage today wait till the last days of open enrollment. So the hope is that you're going to have a wave once the website is fixed. You're going to have a wave as you get closer to December 15th.
Is it getting any better?
Slowly, it's getting better. The wait times are getting shorter. They're taking the website down. They're fixing different parts of it. And so that hopefully by the end of November, which is the deadline they've given, by the end of November, you can have a smooth transition from beginning to end and enroll in Obamacare.
It's got to be fixed by the end of November.
It has to be.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely. It's in big trouble if it's not.
Yeah. All right. And particularly if you're in 20s, 30s, right, you ought to be signed up for health care. You ought to have health care.
You're
going
not
to
invisible.
need it sometime in your life, indeed. Igor Volsky, you're a healthy dude here. Thank you for coming in today, getting up early for us, as always. Good to see you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 33 minutes after the hour now here, the Bill Press Show on Tuesday, November 5. How about it? We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. You put them all together, and that's the SMART Union. Good men and women of the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at smart-union. That's their website, smart-union.org. Well, nothing Washington likes better than a new tell-all political book, and we've got one from Mark Halperin and John Heilman, authors of Game Change, who are out about the 2008 election, out with their book about the 2012, the long-anticipated book. This one called Double Down. It's got a lot of people talking, including Dylan Byers, a media reporter for we have to say that now, right? The senior media reporter for Politico.
I mean...
Yeah, because he's got a whole team of people now, right? Dylan Byers joining us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
All right. Sorry you're not in town, but thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Hey, before we get to this Double Down, I've got to ask you about this flap now. I mean, 60 Minutes for years and years, right, has been known as it's the place where you're bound to find out the solid truth about any issue, right? It all comes out when it comes out on 60 Minutes. You can trust it. But they're in a little hot water about a recent story they did on Benghazi, interviewing a chief witness on Benghazi. What's happening here?
Yeah, that's, and depending on how this pans out, it could be sort of a huge knock on 60 Minutes credibility. I mean, basically, they have this one witness who is bringing up all of these things about what happened on the night of the attack in Benghazi. The only problem is the version of events that he's given to 60 Minutes is radically different from the version he gave privately last year, in which he said he wasn't even anywhere near the attack. And
he said he before he had said he couldn't get near the compound, and he tells 60 Minutes he got there and went over the wall and banged a Taliban guy.
Banged somebody with the butt of his gun. I mean, it's just it's very, very suspicious. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It certainly smells bad, and it certainly seems like CBS is going to take a huge hit here. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just, I think what it is, especially when you get to an issue that is just so that's like a third rail, and that's surrounded by so much conspiracy and all of this. It's really, I would say, important to go with more than just one witness, and certainly to do a little bit more of a background check on him than Lara Logan and the Posted 60 Minutes seem to have done.
And Lara Logan's a damn good reporter too. But
she is, yeah, absolutely.
Raised a lot of questions. Now, not to appear to be just beating up on CBS. NBC is also in a little hot water this morning. It's reported, and they admitted, this recent incident where two skydiving planes collided, and the skydivers all survived because they jumped out of the planes. That's what they do, right? Anyhow,
right.
That's reported that NBC admits that they have paid these people 6 figures for exclusive use of the video that the people there took with their little sky cams on their helmets or whatever. Checkbook journalism, is that all right these days, Dylan?
I don't know. It certainly, I guess that fits within the definition of checkbook journalism. I also think that, I don't know. I'm gonna sound maybe very unethical here, but I wonder if you're
you'll fit right in with us then, Dylan. That's no problem.
If you're making a business decision and you're a network and you pay for content and you're making a business calculation, is it so wrong to pay for footage of something the way you might pay your own cameraman to take footage of something else? I don't know. Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here. But I do wonder. I'm a little less peeved about it than some of my colleagues in the media seem to be.
Yeah, I think when it comes to interviews, it's usually where checkbook journal people really get upset. But on the terms of video, it is a more gray area, I guess.
Right.
And my understanding, though, is that this exclusivity applies only to the video. They could only use the video, has to be on NBC News or another NBC show. I saw some of it on MSNBC this morning. But they could give print interviews talking about what happened. So,
right, which is a great way to encourage readers to go to NBCnews.com and watch the video.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, now let's get to Double Down. A lot of expectations, a lot of hype about this book. You've had a chance to look at it and to report on it. Does it meet the hype?
Here's the very interesting thing. It does, and I didn't think it was going to.
Yeah.
Because it's you know very well we
live
in a Twitter. We live in a Twitter age. We live in an age when every news cycle, every little bit of information comes out almost the moment that it happens.
Right.
It's like there are mini scoops. All of that. You take that and you couple it with the fact that if we're just being honest with ourselves, 2012 was not as exciting as 2008. And you have to ask the question, why a year after an election that most reporters would tell you they got really tired of, would you want to come back and revisit that, especially when we're already thinking about 2016? And I think it's a testament to the authors that they were able to write that book. And then the other thing, too, is there's a lot of kind of 2016 material in there, a lot of stuff about Hillary Clinton, a lot of stuff about Christ and that sort of stuff.
So but your points are absolutely correct. That the fact that they could keep any of this stuff, or that they could come up with anything new, right? That you or I haven't known and talked about a year ago, in this day and age, is amazing. What are some of the nuggets that we've learned from Double Down?
Sure. Well, I think the nugget that everybody is talking about is certainly that the Obama White House was, or the Obama campaign was testing the idea of swapping out Biden and replacing with Hillary. Now, that seems like a huge knock against Biden until you get to the fact that the reason they decided not to do it was because it wasn't a significant bump in the polls, which is a knock against Hillary.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the aisle, there's this issue with why Romney didn't choose Christie as his VP, and there was this whole great operation in which they nicknamed Christie Pufferfish, but that they couldn't do it because he had too many sort of shady issues, in terms of ethics, in terms of financial ties. His brother was involved in some sort of unseemly stuff. And then also he wasn't fully upfront about his health issues. All of these things could be a big issue for Christie, in 2016, unless he nips them in the bud now.
Yeah, and I haven't read the book yet, but I did read one passage where apparently, Christie's weight, too. I mean, he'd take his shirt off, and there's one vignette of Romney seeing Christie coming down the aisle of his bus, trying to fit down the aisle of his bus, and Romney making comments about his size.
Right. Romney was very much a person who valued. I say this was like he's no longer with us.
Yeah. But he's not politically.
No, he's not. But he is a person who values restraint and who values a good exercise regimen, these sorts of things. So for him, Christie was like almost a joke.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Christie was, come the time of the Republican National Convention, a much more popular politician.
And I think he was one of the first ones to endorse Romney, as I recall. I have to read the book and remind myself. With President Obama, the two things that I've picked up that I thought were funny is one is interesting. One is President Obama and Bill Clinton, their relationship.
They
weren't necessarily best buds, right?
Not at all. I mean, so at least the way that Heilemann and Halpern tell it, and I think other people around Washington who know about the relationship would say the same thing, is that Obama could not stand Clinton, or if he could only stand him in doses. So they tried to repair the relationship after a few years, the first few years of Obama's first term, and they went out golfing, and they couldn't even finish the 18 holes. And Obama comes off the golf course, and he says, I like him, ellipses, in doses. And there's this story of like them being in the car on their way to dinner, and Clinton like grabs Obama's hand and just keeps talking to him and won't let him get out of the car. And so Obama decides to invite in all of their aides to the dinner so that he doesn't have to talk to Clinton and he can talk with his aides instead. I mean, it's not. And again, and again, Clinton. He has to go to Clinton though because Clinton is so popular and saves his presidency. And I think Clinton's speech at the Democratic National Convention is probably the most memorable of all the speeches given those 4 days.
Yeah, no, absolutely, much more so than Obama's itself. And finally, President Obama talking about drones and saying, "Hey, I'm pretty good at killing, huh?"
That is such an unfortunate line, and it's the kind of line that I think Obama wished had stayed in the privacy of his own home. But it's true, and it's one of those things that right now we're talking about health care, we're talking about other issues, but when the drone debate comes back, and it always sort of seems to do, because it's an issue that the left is not satisfied with, that is a line that we're going to keep cropping up more and more in some of the debates we're having.
Well, I almost regret our conversation this morning because I sort of had given I vowed I was never going to have to read, never wanted to or never have to read any book about 2012 because I lived it day to day, minute by minute, and knew everything about it. And now you've convinced me that I didn't, and I don't, and I'm going to have to read this damn book. Double down it is.
I think I can confidently say it is the last 2012 related thing you'll have to do in your life.
Thank you, Dylan Byers. And thanks for being with us this morning, Dylan. See you back in town.
Thanks so much, Bill.
All right.
Okay.
Media critic, media reporter for Politico, Politico.com, Dylan Byers. The book is Double Down. It's out now by Mark Halperin and John Heilemann.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
I wish I was in school.
If only I had a math test today.
Or a book report to give.
I wish I was in school.
I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess.
I wish I was in school.
I wish I was in school.
I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
Okay. Hey, we're only 2/3 of the way there. Big hour number 3 coming up. We're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. Nothing we can do about that, but you can switch to our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, and join us with the Now This News reporter, Ashley Kodiani, and then she and I will be joined by Heather Smith, the president of Rock the Vote, about how young people are getting involved in politics these days. Stay with us.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
The Bill Press Show on this Tuesday, November 5, 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us this morning. Ashley Kodiani from not Now This News. Sorry to say not
this news, but that news.
Right. Now This News. Coming up in at the top of the next hour here, we'll also be joined by Heather Smith, who is the president of Rock the Vote. How about that? A lot going on here. It's a big day politically, big day for elections around the nation. Mayor's races in Seattle, in Detroit, and in New York City, most importantly of all, with Bill de Blasio bound to become the next mayor of New York, probably the most progressive candidate to stand for public office in this country. I don't know, for a long, maybe since Howard Dean, and he's gonna win, and he's going to be a great mayor of New York, I believe. Also, important governor's races in New Jersey and in Virginia. In Virginia, they rolled out the big guns yesterday. First of all, for Ken Cuccinelli, Republican, having already received personal appearances by Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. He brought in another Tea Partier to support his Tea Party candidacy. Ken Cuccinelli, joined by Marco Rubio. Now, Rubio turned this election into something, I think, rather strange for Republicans. Here it is.
This is the first election in America since the full impact of Obamacare has been felt. This is the first chance that people in this country have to speak clearly at the ballot box about the impact that this law is having on their lives and on our economy.
I just think they ought to think twice before they make the Virginia governor's race a referendum on Obamacare, for two reasons. Number one, because they're going to lose. They're going to lose bad. Okay? Ken Cuccinelli is going to lose. That means that we can all say the people of Virginia had a choice, and they repudiated the Republican message. They endorsed and they approved Obamacare. When Cuccinelli loses, we'll be able to say that, just like we did say correctly that the American people, we already had a referendum on Obamacare. It was November 2012, and Mitt Romney lost by 5 million votes. On the Democratic side, the next governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, had the president of the United States, of course, was there on Sunday, yesterday, Vice President Joe Biden, who said, Terry McAuliffe, just like me, we're both from the middle class.
He's smart as hell. He's tough. He knows how to get things done. But at his root, it's all about his roots. It's all about the middle class.
Did he come from Scranton, too? I don't know. Scranton, Pennsylvania. But anyhow. So good for Terry McAuliffe today. And hopefully Terry McAuliffe can have enough coattails to bring in the lieutenant governor, Democratic lieutenant governor, and a Democrat, the Democrat for candidate for attorney general. Clean sweep there, it looks like, for the three Democratic candidates in Virginia. Talking about governor's races, it's not until next year, but in Florida, it's going to be an exciting one. Rick Scott is going to have an unusual opponent, who's the former governor of Florida, former Republican governor of Florida, this time running as a Democrat, Charlie Crist.
So today, I announce that I am running for governor of Florida.
Very popular governor of Florida, a damn good governor of Florida, actually, and he will be the Democratic nominee, and I think he could give Rick Scott, who's not very popular even among Republicans, a real run for his money. And President Obama, meanwhile, last night, speaking here in Washington to the Organizing for America folks, OFA, said, don't worry, we're having some little issues with the Affordable Care Act, but we're not giving up.
We are going to keep on going because it is too important to too many people, not just in this generation, but in future generations. And we've got to make sure that we stay on track to make this work.
And the president did have a little wrinkle, added a little wrinkle last night, to his statement that if you have health insurance today and you like it, you're going to be able to keep it, period. Turned out to be not so true because insurance companies have dropped a lot of people because they had inferior plans. The president added a little wrinkle last night, a little if clause. Listen carefully.
Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan.
Yes.
What we said was you could keep it.
Oh, okay.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed. All right. Now we got it straight. And I'll be back and tell you what this president will be up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: Cubism, Symbolism, Futurism, Constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Okay. Hey, we're only 2/3 of the way there. Big hour number 3 coming up. We're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. Nothing we can do about that, but you can switch to our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, and join us with the Now This News reporter, Ashley Kodiani, and then she and I will be joined by Heather Smith, the president of Rock the Vote, about how young people are getting involved in politics these days. Stay with us.
Is the Bill Press Show.
All right, on it's a busy Tuesday, rather, for President Obama today. He and the Vice President get the daily briefing at 10:15 this morning. Then at 11:30, they're meeting with business leaders to talk about the Affordable Care Act and immigration reform. The President and the Vice President have their weekly lunch today. And then the President's doing something he does often, and that is goes out to Bethesda and the Walter Reed National Military Center to visit some of our wounded troops there, and then also go over to the Fisher House, a great institution. I've been there myself, and visit some of the families of those men and women back from Iraq and Afghanistan who are patients at Walter Reed. The President will be back in the White House at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And Jay Carney has scheduled his daily press briefing. I'll be there with the rest of the White House press corps at 12:30 in the briefing room. In the next hour, Ashley Kodiani joins us from Now This News, and Heather Smith, president of Rock the Vote. So hang around for another hour here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Big governor's race in Virginia and New Jersey. Big mayor's races in Seattle, Detroit, and New York City. Get out and vote early and often. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Tuesday, November 5. This is the Bill Press Show. And we will tell you what's going on today in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Most importantly, we want to hear from you what you think about it all and what it means to you, to your family, and to your community. You can do so by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, coming to you live on your local Progressive Talk radio station. The toll-free number again, 866-55-PRESS. You can also send us your comments on Twitter. We don't care how nasty they are. I don't have to read them. Peter Ogburn does.
Someone hold me, please.
Good or bad, agree or disagree, send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show. You're not shy. We know that by now. And, of course, all of our friends on Facebook. Let us hear from you at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. A lot going on here, believe it or not, even though the House is not in session. And to help us through the news of the day, particularly here from our nation's capital, Ashley Kodiani covers the Hill for Now This News, where she is known as a digital journalist and reporter. Hi, Ashley. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in again.
How are you?
Thanks for coming back.
Of course.
Joining our team here, led by Peter Ogburn. Hello, Peter.
Hi there. Yes, indeed. I'm here.
Yes, there she is again. She's gone again. Ashley Cruz, who's...
Alicia Cruz.
Alicia Cruz on the phones.
Have we met?
That's why she... Yeah, that's right. That's why she left, because she knows I was going to botch her name. And Cyprian Balding keeping us looking good on the video cam, because this hour is video streamed, like all 3 hours streamed on the video, at TawkrTV. It's a whole new operation, great operation, worldwide. 130 people from 133 countries watching the video stream.
Good morning, Estonia.
Good morning, Estonia. Good morning, Belarus. We're big in Belarus. And you reach that by going to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV.
Just the other day, we had all 3 donkeys in Estonia watching us on the Bill Press Show. We're very big there.
Sorry, I have to ask you.
Sorry, Estonia.
So, Ashley, I've got to ask you. So, a digital journalist.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Well, it means that I am taking every social platform that's available, let it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the web, and mobile app, and curating content for each of those platforms. So what works on Twitter might not work on Facebook, might not work on Instagram. So it's basically delivering content to consumers as opposed to asking them to come to me, and it's all strictly digital. That being...
Right. That's the point I wanted to get at.
Right. So digital being web-based, manufactured, video content manufactured either using my phone or a small digital camera. And it's the new era of the internet and mobile age.
So you never, nothing published in print, right?
There are some, but no. Mostly it's all video. I mean, we are a video news organization, so...
And is this where media is going, you believe?
I do. I think I have an 18-year-old brother, if I'm going to bring the demographic that low, and his consumption of news and information is strictly limited to Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. So I wonder, when I look at him and I ask him questions about where he gets his information, I sort of see that as the purveyor of what could be the future.
And is he? This is fascinating to me. Is he getting good information that way?
Through Twitter and Instagram, I absolutely think so. Yes, I mean most journalists are on the platforms. I believe there was a Reuters report very recently that's where the most information is exchanged on, for news and information. So,
well, it'd be interesting to know whether he knows that there's an exciting new gubernatorial candidate in Florida. A man who got in trouble at one time because he gave President Obama a hug as a Republican governor of Florida. He gave President Obama, when the president comes down delivering assistance, help after a hurricane, the Republican governor gives the president, who's a Democrat, of course, a hug. He got in trouble, so Charlie Crist left the governor's office and became a Democrat, and now he's running as a Democrat to be governor again and running against incumbent Rick Scott. Here's Charlie Crist announcing yesterday.
So today, I announce that I am running for governor of Florida.
I saw him in Panama City when I was there and talked to him a little bit when I went down with President Obama to visit right after the oil spill. Charlie Crist was a good politician, smart politician, and was pretty well liked as governor. I think he's going to be a formidable candidate against Rick Scott.
I think so too.
That's going to be a great race. Of course, Rick Scott is humongously wealthy, right? He'll have all the money he can spend, but he's just a jerk. So I think we can count on a good challenge there by Charlie Crist. And when we'll be news of the day here in our nation's capital with Ashley Kodiani, and then Heather Smith, who is the president of Rock the Vote, will join us in the latter part of this hour. But first, we've got the big stories of the day.
The Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a few other stories making news today. You stay classy, moviegoers. A new idea is being tested for the upcoming Anchorman sequel. It's going to be opening to the general public around Christmas, but for those who are itching to see the flick, the studio is offering an opportunity to buy what they are calling a super ticket. It allows people who pay a premium the opportunity to get in and see the movie 2 days before the release date.
Woo.
They call it FOMO, fear of missing out. They did a similar promotion for the Brad Pitt movie World War Z, and theatergoers paid $50 per ticket to get in and see it 48 hours early. Anchorman has not announced what the pricing structure is going to be for that.
Do they get a free meal and a free drink with that $50?
No, I'm sorry. You still have to buy your popcorn and soda, which will also cost around $50.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a break on that. Jimmy Carter nearly punched out a head of state. Former President Carter spoke with the Times newspaper earlier this week and confessed that he nearly punched out the president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. Carter had traveled to South Africa with Bill Gates Sr. to raise awareness for the treatment of AIDS, and Mbeki was staunchly against any kind of treatment for the disease and denied that anything would work. Carter confessed, quote, "That's the closest I've ever come to getting into a fist fight with a head of state." He said he stood there with his fists clenched and was prepared to hit the man. He was so angry.
You remember I mentioned earlier, this is the president who had said he had lust in his heart.
Yeah, right.
Now he's saying he had anger in his heart, too.
Yeah.
Neither one did he act on.
He contained them both, yes. And as if flying wasn't scary enough for some people, Chicago's O'Hare Airport played host to an unusual traveler. They found him under an escalator in the airport. It was a live alligator. Police were alerted to the 18-inch long beast by someone who thought it was a toy until it started moving.
Was he a TSA agent?
It was not a TSA agent. They used a dustpan and a broom to sweep the beast up. Police are putting the pieces together. They think that someone realized that you can't take live animals through a TSA checkpoint, and so he simply just let it go in the airport. The gator is being treated for malnourishment, and it will be released to reside in a reptile park.
I must say 18 inches is not a big alligator. I don't think you'd have to worry about a man-eating alligator at 18 inches.
I don't think so, no. That being said, I'm not sure that I would want to come across one in an airport.
Well, you should have left it home, Peter.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. So, Ashley, there was, we have to say, first of all, that the Senate is on the job, right?
Yes.
The Senate is here. The Senate is working. The Senate's in session. They're having committee hearings. Where's the House?
They're not here. They're in recess.
How many times can they be in recess in 1 year? I mean, it's pathetic, the number of days that they work, actually, right? They're not. So they're gone all this week. They were gone half of last week, and they come back next Tuesday night.
Correct.
How can they get away with that? I mean,
I'm not quite sure. I sometimes wonder that myself.
Yeah. So the Senate, though, in session yesterday, they did have a test, the cloture vote on the Employment Non-Discrimination Act.
Right.
A big victory for, first of all, Harry Reid really pushed it through.
Right.
But a big victory for the LGBT community, and I would argue for all Americans.
Right. Well, I think it certainly signifies a shift in tone. I mean, what it's doing is it prevents any discriminatory action against lesbian, gay, transgender in the workplace. And senators on both sides of the aisle came out very aggressively, just saying that there's no place for this in this country. And 7 Republicans voted for it, which I think is absolutely what I said earlier, a sign that things are shifting.
And one of the Republicans who did markedly, Senator Hill, is it Mike Hill or Mark Hill? I'm sorry, Kirk. Mark Kirk,
right.
That's right.
Of Illinois.
From Illinois. Suffered a stroke a couple of years ago. He's been back at his job and yet had not spoken until yesterday. Peter, if we have that clip with the Senator Mark Kirk talking about why this issue, he felt it was so important to take the
I have been silent for the last 2 years due to a stroke a little under 2 years ago. I've risen to speak because I believe so passionately in enacting the ENDA statute.
And so good for him. I mean,
right.
Very remarkable.
That was a good moment.
That, I mean, it is against the law to discriminate in the workplace against anyone based on the color of their skin or their religion or their sex or their gender. And this would say, or their sexual orientation.
Right.
Right. Why is it that this is today, 2013, such a big issue, and it was still such a big deal to get 7 Republicans? You would think, showing my bias, I guess, you would think this would not be an issue.
Well, it's interesting. Apparently, there was a poll done that a lot of Americans actually thought that this already existed. So imagine the shock when we're bringing it to the floor now.
Right, bring it to the floor now. And then imagine the further shock when you hear John Boehner yesterday say, well, it may pass the Senate, but it's dead on arrival in the House.
Right.
Because,
well, one of his arguments is it'll, frivolous lawsuits. It'll bring frivolous lawsuits, additional costs, and, potentially affect how many people are hired and job growth, which, people disagree with that.
Well, it's the same argument they've made against the minimum wage. It was always going to create it cost jobs, which it never has. And by the way, the Washington Post reports this morning, looking at state after state after state where this a similar law is already in effect.
Right.
Banning discrimination against people based on their sexual orientation.
Right. It's just
there has been no flood of lawsuits. And businesses, by the way, most businesses support this, right? Because they don't want to be known as people who discriminate.
Right. I mean, I'm in that camp of Americans who was sort of, wow, we're not already doing this.
Yeah.
So it's always a little shocking when you hear people that don't support it, because I just don't get why you wouldn't.
So the Senate accomplished that yesterday. Is there any likelihood of the president's having a big meeting today at the White House?
Right.
At 11:15 with a group of business leaders to seek their help in pushing immigration reform this year.
Right.
All right, here we are on November 5, and as you pointed out earlier, with the House working like maybe 1 out of every 5 days, if that, is there any chance of getting anything done on immigration reform?
Well, so this is sort of the one issue that keeps on getting pushed to the side almost, and it's in healthcare.gov, the rollout is, certainly to blame for that. I think what's going to happen is where there's a series of benchmarks that the administration has to uphold as they go through the healthcare.gov rollout to prove that it's working and to release certain numbers of enrollment. And I think as each one of those benchmarks is met, then the focus is going to continue until the new year to be on healthcare.gov and the ACA rollout as opposed to, say, immigration reform. So I can't, I think to myself, hopefully this isn't something that gets pushed to the side, but something tells me that it might.
I think that's something that tells you is right. I mean,
right.
I don't see how they can possibly take up they definitely should. They should have a long time ago, but I don't see how possibly this gang can take up anything of this magnitude.
Right. And the other thing is, too, is every time you hear immigration reform, that there's a meeting on immigration reform, there's a rally, the president's meeting with business leaders today, you think, oh, right, immigration reform, because the focus has been strictly on healthcare in this rollout for the last few weeks, that it's sort of an afterthought almost at this point anyway.
No, it's become that. And speaking of healthcare, there is more coming up in the Senate this week on hearings on healthcare. We'll get to that with Ashley Kodiani when we come back here on the Bill Press Show. Tuesday morning, don't forget, there's an empty chair right there. We'll find a place for you at the table. You want to join us? 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show. Bill Press Show.
You got it 26 minutes after the hour. Big elections today. Are young people involved in any of these races? And should they be? Rock the vote.
What are you doing over there?
I don't know.
What are you doing over there?
Keep me away from the equipment.
Yeah, don't touch the equipment.
Rock the vote. If anybody can get young people out and involved, they can. And Heather Smith is going to tell the president of Rock the Vote is going to tell us all about it in the next half hour. Right now, we're talking about what's going on here on Capitol Hill, if anything, what we can expect to see this week out of the Congress with Ashley Kodiani. Covers the Congress for Now This News, which you can follow. You can follow her on all those many platforms at nowthisnews.com, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Every social platform, we are there.
They got it covered. Even
Get
more.
that app, though.
The app is great.
Got to get that app for
the mobile
iPhone.
app. Download the mobile app. It's free on your iPhone
Now
and your
This News.
Android. Now This News.
Okay. Now This News. Download the app, and then that's the portal to get to everything, right?
Portal to get to everything.
Got it. All right. So, what can we expect this week? I know all the attention on the Affordable Care Act. More
Right.
hearings this week in the Senate?
More hearings. So last week we had hearings in the House. Now we
Yeah.
have hearings in the Senate. So we'll have the Medicare Administrator Marilyn Tavenner. She's testifying today in front of the Senate Help Committee, and tomorrow we'll have Kathleen Sebelius testifying in front of the Senate Finance Committee.
Expected to get maybe a better reception than she got last week in the House?
Oh, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. Still questions about the implementation, and a lot of questions. President Obama last night, speaking to the OFA here in Washington, Organizing for America, came up with a new little twist on these people who already have health insurance. Here's his take.
Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
Yeah. That little "if it hasn't changed since the law's passed" is something he had not said earlier.
Right.
I guess the big question, and we're really out of time here, actually, is they got until November 30 to fix a website. If they fix a website by November 30, we're going to be okay, right?
I think that's their hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better get it fixed by November 30 for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Great to see you here. Great to see you on all the different platforms. Thanks, Ashley, for coming
Hey,
in.
thank you. Thank
All right.
you.
Now This News
is the Bill Press Show. seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Tuesday, November 5, 33 minutes after the hour, the Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., with the news of the day. It's a big day for politics across the country. Two big governor's races, New Jersey and Virginia, and mayor's races in many cities, including Seattle and Detroit and New York City. A special congressional race down in Alabama, sort of a contest there between the Tea Party and the establishment wing of the Republican Party. And we'll get into all of that. One quick note, many of you, those of you watching on our video stream at TawkrTV might be wondering, what the hell am I doing wearing a scarf this hour? Well, I want you to see the beautiful work done by my wife, Carol. This is a hand-woven scarf by Carol Press. It's a rayon chenille scarf. I love this one, love the colors. She's got, she does beautiful work, and if you want to see the rest of her work and think about, this is the season. Number one, it's getting cold. You need a scarf to keep warm. Number two, Hanukkah and Christmas coming up. You're looking for the perfect gift. Can't do any better than that. Go to our website, BillPressShow.com, and click on the very top. It says Carol Press Scarves, and you can, shop till you drop right there. And we welcome to the studio Heather Smith, talking about the elections and getting young people involved in the elections. That's a transition I meant to make. Rock the Vote. Nobody does a better job. Heather Smith is the president of Rock the Vote, in studio with us. Heather, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
I don't want you to feel alone, so I have another scarf here, which you may wear for this half hour. How
oh my
that
gosh, and it has red in it.
Yeah.
And purple.
By the way, the red and black is probably her best selling, but that red and purple is very beautiful and goes with your outfit very, very well there. But don't walk out with it.
Okay.
So what's up with the where is Rock the Vote involved in today's election?
Yeah, so there's elections everywhere, it feels like. I think we send out emails and text messages to voters in about 350 different citywide, local races, and then statewide in Virginia. And we actually have programs actively working in 25 cities right now for mayoral races, and then we're all across the state in Virginia.
Yeah. Give us a sense of the dimension of the young vote. What was it in 2012?
Yeah, of course. I'm like a walking
okay.
encyclopedia of youth vote data, right?
Good.
There's a few things that are interesting about the youth vote right now that I think will be really exaggerated in Virginia, and then we will keep seeing the impact of. And one is just the size. So they made up about 20% of the electorate, so 1 in 5 votes. They are growing.
In 2012?
In 2012.
Wow, that's huge.
And they're growing. It's huge. It's huge. And we expect them to be at least a quarter of the vote by the next presidential election. Every day there's about 12,000 kids turning 18. It's the baby boomers' children. It's the largest generation our country's ever seen, and they keep entering the electorate, and they're only about halfway there. So
how do you define the youth vote? Up to what age?
We're going 18 to 29.
18 to 29.
Mm-hmm. So voters under 30.
Right.
And they're super diverse as well, just racially diverse. And we're looking at huge populations of Latino youth who are eligible to vote, as well as Asian American youth.
And on the issues, right? They see things a lot differently.
They do. They're very different than their kind of older brothers and sisters of Gen X. They are...
Not to mention their parents.
Their parents, their grandparents.
Yeah. I think particularly about the issue of marriage equality, for example, right?
A lot of these social issues are very personal issues for them. So marriage equality, even we're seeing amongst young women, the abortion issue, women's rights issues, really motivating them to go to the polls and show up right now in a state like Virginia. And even economic issues, they have been hit so hard by the recession and continue to struggle. So they are, they care. So this whole apathetic thing always drives me crazy. And we're seeing them more than other generations turn towards political participation as a pathway for solution.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. And so Because what you hear, the rap you hear is that young people today just don't give a damn, right? They're not out there in the streets the way they were in the 60s against the war in Vietnam. And so they're not involved,
Right.
whatever, their noses in their books or their heads in the clouds full of pot or something. But not true, you're saying.
No, I mean, you go out and spend 10 minutes with, on a college campus or in a community college setting or with, midnight basketball game and talk to these young people. Of course they care. But their participation looks very different than it did in the 60s and 70s. And so sometimes that's hard to understand or translate. But they're voting at, record rates compared to previous generations. And then in the early 90s, for example, turnout amongst young people was 36%. In the last election, it was nearly 50%. So,
Whoa.
And they're bigger, right? So their impact is real, and they know that.
And do you find that political parties and politicians recognize this and are responding, or do they sort of ignore it?
Yeah, it's a change that's been slow in coming, because I would say if you talk to these young people, they turn out. And Rock the Vote's a perfect example. We registered 1 million young voters in the last election. We talked to all of them. We ran our programs, and they turned out at close to 80%. If you run these programs, it works. But the candidates, there's still this conventional wisdom. They might not show up, so why bother spending resources? I will tell you, in Virginia, because of their size and because of their trending demographics in the state and how they're voting, we saw the candidates for really the first time take it seriously. And we saw Obama do it, of course, but in a statewide race, where in the last month or so, we saw Terry McAuliffe make 22 community college campus visits. We saw in the last week Bill Clinton touring 5 college campuses. So in the final days, when those final minutes actually count, where you spend your dollars and resources, where you put one of your top surrogates, and they're targeting young people, and I think that says something.
Yeah, they're not going to these schools just because they happen to have big gyms or something, right? They're going there because these are potential voters.
They're talking about youth issues, and that's different too. They're talking about young people being the most uninsured when it comes to healthcare. They're talking about student loans. They're talking about women's rights issues, and so they're not using this as you said, a location, but instead going there to actually engage and speak to these voters.
And is there any? I know you know the answer because you are a walking encyclopedia when it comes to the youth vote.
Something I'm very proud of.
Good. From a party point of view, do they tend to be more Republican, more Democrat, libertarian, independent? Yeah. What do you see?
Yeah, if you just take the last presidential election, they voted about 60% for Obama. In Virginia, they actually voted 1 point higher, so 61% for Obama. And let's use Virginia as an example or a case study. In the 96 election, for example, they voted about 10 points for the Republican candidate, voters under 30. Around 2000, 2004, it was split about 50-50. And now you're seeing as this new generation, the millennials, kind of come of age and enter the electorate, they're flipping it, and now they're voting 25 points for the Democrats.
So with Rock the Vote, when you're involved in these mayoral races, are you involved to endorse a particular candidate or just to get the vote out?
It's all about youth power. It's about making sure these young people, as they turn 18 each day, get registered, understand the power they have, figure out who's on the ballot and how to navigate this process. It's like a really fun civics lesson, ensuring that they have the tools they need to make up their own minds, and then helping and ensuring that they show up. So those that we elect are responsive to these issues that
So you
really
don't
matter.
just support Democrats.
Mm-mm.
You're not like Emily's List, which just supports women, but women Democrats,
We
right?
support young people.
You support young people.
Mhm.
You support young people, getting them involved in the process. Do you support young people running for office?
No, we haven't done that. We try to kind of keep ourselves in this very nonpartisan space and say to our audience, listen, there's 46 million of you. You can make up your own minds. Yeah. We're not going to tell you what to do. And that's actually part of the process, right? Figuring out what it is you stand for and kind of holding those values true, figuring out how to go out and exercise your voice. So,
do you see a lot of young people Tea Party members? I think of the Tea Party movement as pretty white and pretty old. Is it?
We don't run into them very often. And
Young Tea Partiers.
Young Tea Partiers, yeah. I've been in Virginia a lot, so I'm thinking about the state a lot.
Yeah.
There's one university down there, Liberty, which is incredibly conservative. So they have, there are pockets of conservative youth, and, we hope they get out there. And, we have debate about the best ideas to address the issues facing young people. But overall, they're voting 60+% for Democrats, and they're identifying a little less, a lot more independence, but their values are very progressive right now as a generation.
And do you find that many of them are like putting in, two things. Are they I wanted to ask you about, are they putting in time? But first, let me go back and ask them a basic question. Mm-hmm. Do they care about politics?
Yeah, they do.
Do they follow
They're disgusted by it a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially, again, it's like they're so close right now, being just outside the Beltway, the government shutdown, the kind of rocky start to the healthcare rollout, all this stuff, and they look at it and go, like, could you just please get something right?
Yeah, right. Get something done.
Get something done. That's probably more like it. And there's this frustration. And the response, which I'm actually a little surprised by, instead of saying, so we're out of here, has been a lot more, we got to take this back. We got to work to make this our own. We've got to kind of take the keys back from our parents because they aren't doing such a good job. And maybe feel a little bit more like the grown-ups at the table than the young people themselves.
And does that lead to actually volunteering for a campaign, walking precincts, making phone calls, or just kind of doing it? Or voting is the most important thing.
That's right. But it's, go to rockthevote.com throughout the day and you'll see all these stories. We've got... we put a call out for student leaders in Virginia and said, if you're doing something cool around the elections, let us know and we'll support you. Yeah. We ended up with 15 fellows working at, twice as many campuses across the state. And today alone, they've got, bands playing on campuses and parties at the polls, and they're door knocking and precinct walking. And it's it's going to be a real show of youth vote power.
So it's really happening. I love that. Youth vote power around the country. Heather Smith has got it all going here, president of Rock the Vote. You can go to rockthevote.com, but more immediately give us a call. Any question you have about the youth vote in this country, 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show. is the Bill Press Show.
Rock, rock, rock the vote. That's what we're talking about here, getting young people out to vote. Doesn't matter how you vote, just get out and vote. Heather Smith, that's her message. She is the president of Rock the Vote. Started in, I remember, 1992. Am I correct?
That's right, 1992.
I just remember because it was Rock the Vote, Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, he'd go running in his little Rock the Vote T-shirt, and West Wing did an episode about it. So it's part of the culture, 1992.
And got started how? Just because young people liked Bill Clinton, or no?
No, it was members of the recording industry, so artists, musicians, labels, who were, I would say, politicized by the movement to put the censorship labels on music, on the CDs. It was Tipper Gore. And so they all came into Congress and testified, and it really alerted them to the decisions that people make that actually affect their lives as artists and musicians. And they realized that, well, wait, we speak to these young people every day, millions and millions of them. And almost, at that time, there's no Facebook or Twitter or anything. So they had a really kind of a hold on the youth audience. And they said, let's do something good and teach them to use their voice and speak out too.
And wasn't it at a Rock the Vote event that Bill Clinton was asked, boxers or briefs?
Boxers or briefs, that's right. We had a lot of fun with that one in the 2008 election, deciding whether or not we should bring that all back and what we would ask Hillary if she were actually to attend a Rock the Vote event.
Oh, right.
We moved on. It's also where Bill Clinton played his saxophone.
Oh, yeah. Huh. All right,
Those
so
were
Rock
the
the
days.
Vote.
23 years later.
Right, already had an impact. I want to get back to the politics of the young vote. I mean, a lot of Republicans are afraid of passing comprehensive immigration reform because they're afraid that, if we allow Latinos to register to vote, they'll all vote Democratic. And some people are afraid of the youth vote for that reason, too. Not necessarily so, you're saying, right? They break down.
Yeah, there's 46 million of them. So, of course, there are going to be different sections and cohorts amongst them. But, if you look at African-American youth, voting very, very Democratic right now. In fact, African-American women voted 98% for Obama in 2012. When you look at young women in general, they're voting more than young men, and they're voting more Democratic than they are Republican. But young white men, for example, they tend to trend a little more Republican. So I think everyone can kind of find their piece.
Yeah.
Overall, those who are voting under 30, yes, they are voting 60-40 for Democrats right now.
So if people want to get involved, young people particularly watching, listening today, they go to rockthevote.com. Is that?
Yeah, rockthevote.com. You can get registered to vote. You can find out all the information about your elections, if there's one today or any upcoming. But you can also just volunteer and get involved with our efforts. Go talk to voters at concerts and festivals, get the word out.
And most important question of the day, perhaps, with just about a minute left. Do young people today realize how important it is to have health insurance, and are they signing up?
That's a very good question. I think it's going to take some time, but for them, it's really been about this moral thing. People deserve to have the opportunity to have health care. Mm-hmm. Will they sign up? Will they spend the money? I think if you ask them and you explain it to them, they will. Probably not going to happen just by accident.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they deserve to have it because it is a right, not a privilege. But now that they have it, the opportunity under the Affordable Care Act, it's important that they recognize, even though they're as healthy as a horse right now, it ain't always going to be that way. At some point, no matter who they are and if they work out every day, they're going to need to see a doctor or something can happen, right?
Yeah, and I think most people have enough stories close to them that they understand that. And I do think ultimately it will work.
All right. Hey, it's so good to see you and all the great work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
For behalf of all of us Americans, Rock the Vote. It's rockthevote.com. We'll see you again.
Great.
This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
And on this Tuesday, November 5, my parting shot for today. Well, if you watched CBS News last night, you saw at the main entrance of a high school up in Wilmington, Delaware, and over the door, the name Salesianum High School. I know that school. That's my alma mater. I graduated from there. I got a great high school education there, and that's a school I still proudly support. In fact, I attended my high school reunion just 10 days ago. But Sally's, as we call it, also happens to be the school Paul Ciancia, the 23-year-old LAX killer, graduated from. That's why it's getting such nationwide publicity today, which is both embarrassing and unfair. Let me tell you why. Salesianum's run by the Oblates of St. Francis de Sales, a religious order dedicated to the teachings of Francis of Sales, known as the Gentleman's Saint. His message, which was drilled into us at Sally's, was all about patience, tolerance, gentleness, love for our neighbors, love even for our enemies, and non-violence. In other words, just the opposite of Paul Ciancia. I don't know what happened. Maybe Ciancia slept through his religion classes at Sally's, but he in no way represents what Salesianum is all about. I am proud to be a Sally's graduate and will always be so. That's my parting shot for today. Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz joins us tomorrow, day after Virginia and New Jersey. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.